Hi, I'm Paul. I work for Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service, and with a small team of people I'm responsible for reducing deliberate fires. Did you know that every year there are about 3,000 deliberate fires in Leicestershire? A deliberate fire is a fire which is started on purpose, and in serious cases it's called arson. Arson is a crime and it can lead to a life in prison. The next few weeks are a very busy time of year for the Fire and Rescue Service. Every year they get called out to lots of fires which are deliberately set by young people playing with fire. Last year, during Bonfire Night, there were 32 deliberate fires. That's the same number of fires they normally get in 1 week. Well, today we're here at Central Fire Station and we're going to talk to some of the firefighters about some of the dangers and the consequences of playing with fire. So come with me and let's see if we can find some firefighters. Okay, we're inside Central Fire Station now, and this station, like the other two stations in Leicester City, has just 2 fire engines. So in total in Leicester City there are 6 fire engines serving a population of 300,000 people, which means that we can't afford to waste time with fire engines being sent to deliberate fires. Anyway, let's see if we can find some firefighters to talk to about different fires that they've attended. Now, let me introduce you to Paul Wilson here. Paul's known by his colleagues as Ginge on the station, and Ginger's been in for a good number of years. I'm sure he'll tell us, and hopefully be able to tell us some of the incidents, or an incident that you've been to, Ginge, around about this time, where people maybe were injured as a result of playing with fireworks, playing with bonfires, deliberate fires.
Yeah, this time of year, Paul, it is very busy for us. One year in particular, a few years ago now, there was a garage fire involving two boys in there. What they were doing, they were dismantling the fireworks and making a pile of gunpowder on the floor. And in this garage, there was aerosol cans and thinners and paints and all sorts of things in there, full of nasty things that can burn very readily. One of the lads then decided to run out of the garage and shut the garage door for a laugh. When it shut, it locked on his friend inside. The lad inside then thought, well, I can't see anything, so I'm going to strike some matches. He struck his matches and put it to the pile of gunpowder on the floor. What he didn't realise at that point was the gunpowder flashes up in a huge fireball, and this fireball engulfed him in flames. It set fire to all his clothes on his torso, it set fire to his hair, his eyebrows, everything. When we arrived, I was tasked with another firefighter to get the garage door open and rescue the poor lad. It took us a while to get it open because it was locked. When we got in there and pulled him out, we could see the extent of his injuries. His injuries were horrendous. Skin from his fingers was hanging off because he'd severely burnt them. They were all blistered. All his torso was severely burnt. His neck, his face, and all his hair had gone. Even his ears had burnt. His tongue at that point was beginning to swell in his mouth, so he was having real trouble breathing. And to be honest with you, we don't know how he was still alive at that point. He was very, very lucky still. The paramedics then got him into the ambulance and worked on him and took him away. He then spent 2 weeks in intensive care, and his family are absolutely devastated with that. And it really had a big impact on myself, because I've got 2 children, and I wouldn't like to think anything like that had happened to them. It affected me for quite a long time afterwards. I used to think about it quite a lot. The only good thing for me is it's a fading memory. This poor lad has to look in the mirror every single day, and he's horrifically burnt, he's scarred for life. And he's got to have a lot of painful operations to rectify these burns. So he's reminded of that day for the rest of his life every time he looks in that mirror.
That's great. Thanks very much, Paul. We're going to wander around, see who else we can find,
Yeah,
see what the stories.
I think Ed's round the corner there. He's checking the fire engine. So.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. Okay, let's have a look round the back here. Ed, how you doing?
Hello, Paul. How are you?
All right, thank you.
Good.
We're on the station today. We're just talking to different firefighters about deliberate fires, particularly deliberate fires that you've been to, around about Bonfire Night, and maybe whether you've come to any where children in particular have been playing with fires and they've gotten hurt or injured in some way as a result of that.
There is one incident I attended where that's the case. It was early in the evening again. Usually it was about 8 o'clock, and we'd been called out to one of the city parks. And as we pulled up to the park, we noticed the fire, and there was a group of older children at the entrance. We pulled off the hose reel and took it towards the fire. And as we got closer, we realised there was a smaller fire next to it. And on inspection of that fire, it turned out that was a young lad his coat was engulfed in flames, and he was rolling around on the floor trying to smother the fire. Luckily enough, an ambulance pulled up behind us fairly quickly, and we put the flames out on him, and he went to hospital.
Yeah.
Talking to the older children, it turns out that they had built their own bonfire that they'd set off, that they'd lit as an impromptu bonfire night celebration, and the younger children were jumping through the flames, and this kid got it wrong. So the decisions he made that night will live with him for the rest of his life. He had pretty bad burns to his face and his hands, anything that wasn't covered really. His duffel coat took the worst of the impact, but his face and his hands and his hair were all pretty badly burnt.
Yeah. Another life lesson about the dangers of playing with fire.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right, thanks very much, Ed.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Well, the firefighters have been called out to a fire, which means that they will not be able to go to any other fires until they return. Is this a fire which happened by accident, or is this just another fire started on purpose, which is now wasting their time? Show us how much you know about the dangers and the consequences of playing with fire by taking part in our quiz. The quiz will be available from next Monday, and you'll have 2 weeks to do it. The class with the most correct answers pulled out of the hat will win a prize up to £300 for their school and a trip for all down to the station. Best wishes, and I hope to see you and your class here. If you're really lucky, you might even be able to catch Ed and Ginge.